Hey you guys, Dr. Ken Davis here. I wanted to thank you for your interest in wanting to learn more in this second video that you're going to be watching. You're going to learn a lot tonight, and I have some really great information for you that you can begin to utilize immediately and create some major changes that you'll love. And then at the end you'll have the opportunity after this video to get more. So we'll talk about that later on. If you remember in your first video, I was discussing the importance of understanding that there is a living energy field that surrounds all living things, and that when it's harmonious and vibrating in light and color and harmony, health ensues. Because this energy field that surrounds all living things is vibrant and it has different color in it. We also talked about in the first video that there are 17 specific energies that comprise this energy field that allow us to exist as an entity on this planet. And we mentioned, we talked about that we believe that these 17 energies are what universal source, innate wisdom, whatever name you want to talk about, our source and maker utilized to create the universes and the galaxies and everything that we see and everything that is. You're going to have the ability tonight to learn these 17 energies. I'm going to discuss them and also show you a procedure and technique that you can begin to utilize with the use of these 17 energies, and one of them or several of them that will balance this field and also affect the ability of the body to remove, you'll be able to affect the body's ability to get rid of excessive amounts of radiation that can accumulate. I wanted to take you back in history and explain some things to you about, and thus the term harmonics, and my background, as I mentioned, close to almost 40 years of being involved with harmonic work and energy work and energetic therapy through my relationship with Dr. M.L. Reese, as I've mentioned, and our travels that we went all over the world for 14 years and studied all of the ancient rituals and mystical sites, and we gathered and collected stones and rocks and varying things to create these instruments that I'm going to show you called harmonics. And many things that we did. We went all over the world. We went to China and Tibet and India and Peru and Hawaii and the Azores and England and Brussels, and I can't even remember them all. But they were all incredible trips. And each trip that we went on had a purpose for why we went. To learn about the energies that existed. We went to Stonehenge, which that in itself would be a great tape, and I'm sure I'll talk about that in the program, and the energies and how to access those energies and what Stonehenge really is. We went to the Great Pyramid, for example, and I was in the King's Chamber there, and I went to the Step Pyramid and all the things that we did there, and Mexico and the Yucatan, and on and on and on and on, and Butte, Montana, and Canada, and boy, I should become a travel agent to tell you about all the great places to go and see in the world. But no, we went on these trips to discover the patterns of energies. We went to Israel, we went to the Dead Sea, we went to Egypt, through the Sinai, up to supposedly where Moses went to the mountain, and one of the I think the oldest, or one of the oldest monasteries, called St. Catherine's, which was an incredible trip. So all of this knowledge and background is built into natural force harmonic therapy that you're going to be learning and have the opportunity to take the journey with me, as we've mentioned, and learn some incredible, incredible things. Getting back to the harmonics, as you know, in the 1800s, or maybe you don't know, that Madame and Pierre Curie won 2 Nobel Prizes for their work in piezoelectric energy emission. And what the Curies did is they took what's called gemstones in the rough, rock salt, tourmaline, and other semi-precious stones, and they hooked it up to a neon lamp. And what they found is that by tapping these substances, tapping and brushing it, it was able to create this electrical discharge that lit up the lamp. And it was an incredible, astonishing, and that was the beginning of what's called piezoelectricity. Now, Rees, in his genius, took that principle and developed what's called the Rees phenomenon. And Doc, as we called him affectionately, had, as a child, as a boy, he was an electronics genius, and he was a rock hound. And he began to study different minerals and stones as a boy that came from the area of where he lived, and found that the geological formations there exhibited a specific vibratory component. He just felt it. He felt it. He knew. And he began to experiment. So also early on as a child and as a young boy and a young man, he began to figure out code sequences. Now remember, in the first video we mentioned that when this energy field that surrounds all living things is disruptive from the negative things in life, then it creates discordant vibration. And that we figured out ways not only to bring back these discordant harmonies or melodies to a beautiful tune, we also understood that each supposedly manifesting condition or illness is a energy field, so to speak, that's exhibiting, again, discordancy, lack of balance and harmony. So each particular illness has its own specific discordant vibratory rate. Through the use of harmonics at the beginning that Rees developed, along with our own developments, we were able to create instruments called harmonics, which I'm going to show you, to change that discordant harmony back to balance. We created harmonics that had code sequences based upon the Curie's tapping and brushing procedures. And we placed these harmonics, these instruments, on specific areas of the body. And by tapping and brushing and figuring out the exact code sequence, we were able to alter and change these discordant vibrations that were being exhibited by an individual having whatever, whether it was back problems or mental issues or severe blood problems or leukemia. Or see, we weren't treating primarily the illness, we were treating the discordant harmonies that were being manifest from an imbalance and bringing it back into balance and creating incredible changes in people. Incredible. As we grew and developed these instruments and instrumentation and we placed them, it was very difficult. For example, sometimes we'd have 8 of these, 10 of these instruments on the body. And we'd have to tap them and brush them in this specific sequential arrangement until we discovered some additional knowledge and information. What I'm going to show you is something that Doc created and we used to use on people, patients, for a long time, called a resonator. This is a resonator. This happens to be steel. Now, there are different substances or minerals known that are incredible conductors of energy. Steel is one of them. Copper is a very good one as well. And aluminum is another. Pretty wild looking thing, isn't it? This is a resonator. This was the answer that we were looking for in the early days of harmonic therapy that allowed us to gather energy or collect energy based upon principles in physics by rotating clockwise and counterclockwise directions, collecting energy in the resonator and tapping the instrument or the disc that was on the body. So again, I don't want to make this in this tape. I'm just trying to give you a background. I don't want to make it too complicated for you, but I want you to have an understanding of the history of the harmonic work, where you're going to realize and what you're going to learn is that your hands and the work with these 17 spectrums, your hands are going to become the harmonics. And you're going to have an understanding and a knowledge of how to use them as a harmonic to create, again, these incredible changes in that energy field that surrounds all living things, and bring it back to balance as we use these spectrums of energies on different areas and points to accomplish certain tasks, which again, that will be later in the program. So this is a resonator, and a resonator had a disc or a harmonic. I'm a little ahead of myself, but the harmonic, which is this, I'll explain this in a minute. Let's go back to the resonator. The resonator also had a quartz crystal in it that was programmed or tuned to a specific frequency. Again, this is another one. This is a steel one, just showing you the background. Now, a harmonic, there were many of them. There was about 275 different ones for different discordant vibrations. So for example, if someone had every harmonic, a harmonic was figured out for every level of the spine, for example. So if someone had a problem in their low back at, let's say at lumbar 5, which is the last vertebrae of the spine, there was a harmonic that was made for that and was tapped and brushed at a certain sequence, put on that area, and in a matter of 20 seconds or so, it was changed. Now, if you remember from the first tape that you received, I talked about what led me into the harmonics work. If you remember when I was assisting at that workshop, an individual brought before and after videos and tape, x-rays of Dr. Reese after 12 days, seeing these bone degeneration changes. It was these harmonics, or a specific one, that he utilized on areas of the spine and bone that changed that discordant frequency and allowed the bone to change and regrow. This is what we were doing. So a harmonic, there are many different types as I just mentioned, had different stones found in a special sequential arrangement and other materials to allow that orchestration. Remember, we also discussed in the tape about a harmonic as an orchestration of specific energies. Remember, we talked about the woodwind and the percussion, and the conductor says play. So a harmonic was figured out with a specific code sequence that, when tapped and brushed in a certain arrangement, created a vibratory rate to accomplish a specific thing. Now later on in the course, we'll talk about the 5 major tissue changes that a harmonic or the hand spectrum work that you're going to be doing does. That will come later on down the road. So this is what a harmonic looked like, and on the back, on the tape, you'll see these circles there. And those circles represent areas where a specific type of stone had to be placed and put in a sequential arrangement that would be that proper orchestra for that discordant harmony that, say, that was involved with disruption in the skull bones or certain tissues of the body. I think you're following along. When we used the harmonic and we began to get into the resonators, we would use certain harmonics in the resonators. And we would place the harmonic in the resonator, touching the crystal that was programmed to a certain frequency. So that made it even more powerful. And again, we would have harmonics on the body, and we would tap and get that orchestration resonating. And again, in a clinically viable minute or less, it would create the desired changes and bring those discordant harmonies back into balance. So I wanted to show you on this tape some of the background work that we did. It was incredible. Absolutely incredible. And this is what we did many, many years ago. And people from all over came for this work. Even though they didn't understand it, they didn't, but you know what happens? As they got worked on, and they felt and all these changes and all these before and after that we did, they kept coming. And they'll come to you as well, if you're a practitioner. Okay, let's move on a little bit and get back to talking about the 17 energies, the spectrums that make up the this energy field that you're going to be working with. These hand spectrums, as I mentioned in that first tape, emanate out of specific points of your hands. And we figured out which areas of your hands through spot infrared scans and photography actually demonstrated the emanation points of each of these particular energies. We call this digital healing power, if you want to have a name for the technique. Yes, we're doing hand spectrum work, digital healing power. We all have these energies in our hands, all of us, but the majority of individuals are not aware. They're not aware. So your awareness and what you're learning from this tape, that alone is really, in a sense, priceless, because this knowledge and information will be with you for the rest of your life. But like anything, I can give you a new bike and training wheels, you got to learn how to use it. And you got to work with it over time. But they're there. They're in everyone. But now that you're aware of it, you can activate them to be utilized for healing. So I want to show you a picture. And we can focus on this. Let me show you what it looks like. So here's what it looks like, or the areas where those emanation points come out. And you see that there's different areas. So they come out of the tips of the fingers, the thumb, come out close to the wrist, come out in the palm of the hand, both sides, and so forth. I'd like to give you their names, okay? One of the energies is called, out of the left thumb comes what's called motion energy. Left thumb, motion energy. Out of the left index finger comes nuclear energy. Left mid finger, oh, I'm sorry, left index is number 4 energy. Number 3 energy is the left thumb, called motion. Number 4 is called nuclear energy. The left mid finger is also nuclear energy. There are 2 types of nuclear energies. There's nuclear energy number 1 and nuclear energy number 2. Also, out of the left ring tip comes what we call conceptual concentration energy. And I want to stop there on that and talk a little bit about conceptual concentration energy. Conceptual concentration energy is really, in a sense, that as you get into natural force harmonic therapy, is what allows you to activate the power of the spectrums. Because by concepting or by conceptualizing, it's kind of like, okay, it's like, may the force be on, may the force be with me, may the power be turned on. Conceptual energy of those spectrums allows that process to take place. So, conceptual energy is number 17. Radioactive energy, number 1, comes out of the left thumb thenar pad. Now the thenar pad of your hand is this thick area here. Number 5. Okay. The left palm, mid-palm, sorry, it's my right hand. Left palm is called physical kinesis energy. Physical kinesis energy. Left mid-palm. Left palm, ring finger base, right there, comes what we call suspension energy. These are all the names of the energies. And we'll review this. And the right little finger comes radioactive energy, number 2. That's energy number 7. And later on you're going to learn a technique where you're going to use this radioactive energy number 2 to bleed radiation out of an individual. The right ring tip is spectrum number 14, called spiritual energy. Number 6 comes out of the right index finger, called electromagnetic energy. Out of the right thumb energy, out of the right thumb comes veil energy. Veil energy, V-A-I-L, veil energy. Out of the right palm, ring base finger, this part of the hand right there, comes energy called webbing energy. Webbing energy. I'm going to tell you what these things do in a minute. Out of the right mid-palm, number 12, called inertial energy. Inertial energy. The right thumb thenar, so this fleshy part of the right thumb on the right hand, is energy number 9, called solar energy. Solar energy. Number 11, out of the heel of the right palm, the heel, comes what's called pulsar energy. Pulsar energy. And lastly, out of all of your hands, it's always there, is called voidless vacuum energy. It comes out of all the parts of your hands, voidless vacuum energy. And out of the left palm ring finger, which I left out, is called mental kinesis energy. If you remember, I gave you physical kinesis energy. So those are the spectrums. Those are the spectrums. Voidless vacuum, pulsar, solar, inertial, webbing, veil energy, electromagnetic, spiritual energy, radioactive energy number 2, radioactive energy number 1, mental kinesis energy, suspension energy, physical kinesis, radioactive energy number 1, conceptual concentration energy, allows you to turn the power on. Nuclear energy, motion energy is another. And those are your energies. Something I know you haven't heard of, but you will more and more as you begin to work with them. Now, it may seem right now a little complicated, so I don't get all this stuff, but very simple is that all of the energies, when you begin to use them for healing, can be transmitted through the palm of the right hand. So again, all of these energies that we just went through and their emission points can all be brought forth through the palm of the right hand using what's called pulsar energy, P-U-L-S-A-R. I'll say it one more time to hit home. All of these 17 spectrums that we're going to be working with that emit out of all these specific points of the hand can all be transmitted when you work on a person or the body or in this energy field, can collect through the palm of the right hand. So that you're not worried about, oh, is it there? Am I putting it this way or this way? You don't have to worry about that. It can all come out of the palm of the right hand here. Let me tell you some of the usages. So for example, energy spectrum number 3 is very powerful in working with any type of arthritis in a person. And again, we're going to go deep. I'm just giving you an understanding of the power of what you can affect in how it's manifesting as that through discordant, obviously, harmony and melodies. Bone problems, energy number 1. Circulatory problems, energy number 17. Disc problems, energy number 2. Ligament repair problems, index number 4, energy number 4. Torn ligaments respond well to hand spectrum number 9. Even spinal cord injuries respond to energy number 15. Welding and repairing and helping torn tendons respond well to number 8. Vascular tissue problems respond well to number 17 again, and on and on. All of the specificity will be covered in the course of the tapes and the program that you'll have the opportunity to study and learn with me. Let me give you a couple more that create incredible changes with you, with people. God, there's so many of them. It's amazing. A lot of them I've given you. For example, a lot of people have nerve-related disruption where the nerves don't fire properly or there's a lack of nerve transmission. There's an energy that works with that called suspension energy. So again, these spectrums which comprise us and comprise that energy field can be utilized in the harmonic work to create change in the energy field and other specific techniques and procedures that through the course that you'll be learning that will blow your mind. To be able to affect, again, as we mentioned in the first tape, the ability to chelate and draw things out of the body, to break down restrictions, jelly packs, and many, many other things. So remember, no need to become confused. I'm trying to present to you these energies and their names, where they emit from, when we get into the work. And even from now you can begin to utilize and remember that everything emits out of the palm of the right hand. Palm of the right hand. Okay, now that we've discussed the hand spectrum energies and their usage, I'm going to give you an incredible technique and procedure that you can begin to do utilizing these hand spectrums. And you can practice this. It'll create phenomenal changes just from this particular procedure. Since we're working with and dealing with the energy field that surrounds all living things, and we know now that a harmonious, healthy, vibrant energy field creates health and well-being, and a discordant one that has disruption in it creates breakdown, illness, and disease. So in this procedure that I'm going to teach you, I learned this many, many, many years ago, and I still use to this day. Very easy to do. And even though those that are watching this are going to practice this, even though you may not be didactic enough, it's very, very easy to be able to find these points that I'm going to show you, and then the procedure in which you're going to then proceed and do. There are going to be points that you're going to check, and there's going to be initially 3 of them. Now, why are we going to do this? Because it's going to help identify where there's disruption and distortion in the electrical field. In that electrical field, that living, vibrating field of energy that has to vibrate in harmony. The first area that we're going to check is a point on the right gluteal area. So as we do this, we're going to take our 4 fingers like so, and we're going to go to the right gluteal muscle, and we're just going to apply pressure in there like so. And we're going to ask and see, because as we become sensitive in the work, you're going to develop sensitivity with your fingers and hands, even though you may not have had any training. Those that are viewing this video and watching are going to be taking the program. If this point becomes tender, and again, also I will say too that when I teach you the procedure, even though you may not be sure of which point is active, a lot of times the person that you're going to do this on will respond and tell you. But even though you may not be sure, the technique that you're going to be doing is still going to take care of everything anyway. Also, let me come back to that point in a sec. This electromagnetic, this bioelectrical, this electrical field that surrounds all living things can collect disruption, as we mentioned in that first video, that the negative things of life, our thoughts, the environment, negative thinking, electromagnetic disruption from low frequency, many people's thoughts, and many, many, many other things can affect this field in human beings. And that alone, that effect, creates a tremendous amount of disruption before anything else is done. Now, so again, getting back, this point that we're going to check in the right gluteal muscle is we're going to use our 4 fingers, and we're going to apply a little pressure and determine whether or not that's tender or sensitive. Many times the individual doing that, as I mentioned, can feel it, tension or the discomfort, where the individual being worked on will remark. If this is tender or involved, it's telling you that there's a disruption in the electrical field, in the energy field, from the lower lumbar at the area called L5, right above the sacrum and the hips, from all the way below the feet. So again, the right gluteal is telling you that there is a energy field disruption, it's not in harmony, from L5 down to the bottom of the feet. Now there's another area, the second point we're going to check is an area lateral to the rib at the level of what we call thoracic 9. It's very easy to find because if you go to the wing bone here, the tip of the bone right there, we can all feel that easily. If you just go down a little bit, or kind of bisect from that point to the top of the hip, right here in the middle, there will be, and we want to take our 4 fingers, and we want to test it to see if it's tender. Also, it may be very ticklish on an individual as well. That's telling you that there is a disruption in that energy field from the lowest vertebrae of the neck to that 5th lumbar. So again, the first one was the gluteal from L5 to below the feet. The second one was at D9, right lateral rib, right at the end lateral part here, which is telling you that there's a disruption again from C7 to L5. The last point, the third point that we're going to test, and we can use our left hand or our right hand, doesn't matter, a lot of times I use my left hand, is in the muscle here called the trapezius muscle, or the upper trapezius muscle, on the left side only. And we take we can use my right hand, or if I use my left hand, I'm going to use my 4 fingers again, and I'm going to come into the top of the trap muscle like that, and I'm going to apply pressure like that. See if it's tension. Again, as I mentioned many times, the individual will tell you, oh yeah, I feel that. Or you ask, and that's what I usually do, is I ask, I'm going to test 3 points. I'd like you to tell me which of the 3, there may be all of them, 2 of them, or 1 of them, is most tender, if any, is what I say. And I correct 1, 2, 3. And then I record that, or I make a mental note of it, and then I'm going to go and do my procedure. Now, also what can happen is that this vibrating energy field that has to be in harmony and vibrant can, when it's disrupted, it can become actually weaker, almost like it becomes thin, and it develops these little it's like someone driving along in your car and having these little pebbles hit your windshield. Creates little marks in it, or irritations. Or another analogy would be like, having ice, an ice skating rink, and you're skating on it and you get these skate marks on it, and chip marks. That's what can happen to this field of energy. And what will happen over time, you'll become sensitive in your ability to feel that. Because where there's disruption, many times when I show you, when you run your hands over it, it feels very cold underneath your hands. Now, these 17 energies that we've talked about that make up this energy field, and that we now have access to be able to utilize in natural force harmonic therapy. And we know now that these 17 energies emit at certain points. We're going to use 2 of those spectrums through the index finger and the middle finger of the right hand, that's going to touch or come down to the feet. Now, I also want to say that it does not matter whether or not the individual has their shoes on or not. Now, if they have, for example, high heels, same thing. You go right to the bottom, because I learned that the shoes or whatever become an extension really of the body. So you're still in contact with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our index and our middle finger, and there's 2 hand spectrums, and we're going to place them on the heels of the feet like that. And at that point, those hand spectrums are activated, which are going to begin to move through that energy field of that individual on the table. It's a very light contact that I'm doing. And many, many people, when they have this, will remark on what they feel. When you first start doing this, I wouldn't say anything or ask them, let them report to you. Or you may want to say, is there anything that you feel as I do this? About 30 seconds. Now, after you're done, you're going to take both of your hands and we're going to start from the left foot very, very, very close to the surface of the body, and we're going to run up the left leg and around and down to the left, and we're going to do it twice. Now, as you become sensitive, as I mentioned, you'll feel cold areas as you initially do it on the first round that begin to change as you are coming down twice. And there are specific hand spectrums that are activated to fill in those disruptions or holes, so to speak, in that energy field. Fills it in, which is vital for many, many optimal functions of an individual, of their body, and all components of that. So again, we first want to, so the hand spectrums we're using at the heels are moving through to remove all that static and disruption and collection of so-called negative energy. And then we're working in the field, so to speak, filling in any holes, disruptions, weaknesses, twice from left to right around the body. Good. Now, there's another point that is very powerful, and even if you just did this point alone, you're going to create some major shifts in people. In the middle of the scapula, the wing bone, on the right side only, right about there, is a point that's what we call the radiation point, meaning that this point becomes active and sensitive when there's an accumulation of radiation in an individual. That radiation can be from X-rays, people that have had therapy, everyday life, because we live really in an ocean of radioactivity. The thing that I learned was that an accumulation of excessive amounts of radiation has an affinity for the heart muscle and will actually shut, so to speak, the heart down, or the energy of the heart down. Now, I am going to give you the name of this spectrum. Radioactive energy number 2, which comes out of the tip of the right pinky, is going to act as an antenna to bleed that radiation right out of that individual. And here's how you do it. So you're going to go to the center of the scapula, and you can poke on it. A lot of times it's, so Nancy here, she's a little tender there when I do that. She's been working on the computer today and so forth. So you're going to touch the center of the scap, and I'm creating an antenna, and I'm going to come right a little bit above the body in the energy field, and I'm going to circle 5 times clockwise like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to go counterclockwise 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back down and touch. And then recheck the point. Now, if it's still tender, you can go a little bit more. That technique alone can clean this out of an individual. For yourself, you may say, well, I want to do that for me. Well, here's what you can do. If you take that same radioactive energy number 2, which again emits out of the, and put it to the tip of your chin like this, you'll feel this, you can actually remove radiation from your own body and heart muscle by holding that point for about 30 to 45 seconds like that. And a lot of people I've taught over the years to do this before they begin work, especially if they're working on a computer, and when they're done at the end of the day. So these procedures and techniques alone will create a tremendous shift or change in the people, patients, family members, or other individuals that you may use this hand spectrum natural force harmonic work on. So enjoy it and practice it and utilize it. Okay, I wanted to thank you for looking and checking this tape out and wanting to learn more. I really love, as you know, doing this and wanting to share with all and take this journey together. It's so needed today to help people, to help humanity. And again, this work can make incredible changes, not only for you doing it, because as you do this work on people, you're affected from the energy as they are as you work on them. You're going to have an opportunity below this video to click on it, which will take you to be able to register for the course. Let me tell you a little bit about the program. There's no contracts involved here. There's nothing like that. It's going to be a monthly video similar to what you're getting on an aspect that's going to take you 101, 102, 103, 104, put it all together in a system that not only is going to include your ability as a practitioner to do this on people, but also you'll be able to utilize the knowledge and information in these hand energies for your own self-healing. So a person say, well, I don't want to be, but you know what? Understanding it and doing it will also benefit your health and well-being as well. So you'll be able to go and click on that to register. It's going to take you to another page, and you'll be able to, it's going to be over the course of a monthly 12-month period, over a year, 12 months. You're going to receive a tape once a month that will be approximately about an hour to an hour and a half longer or more, or less. It may have also on those tapes, there may be times that I instruct you to certain books that I may want you to look at or read that I've read. It could be shows, it could be videos of other types, whatever comes up in that process I'm going to direct you to. Also, on the website, on Crystal Fusion, we're going to have a tab, or like a forum, a community, with a Q&A. So you'll be able to communicate with me by posing any questions or comments, or that and I will get back to you on that. And certainly I can address those also in the course of the tapes as well as we go. You can stop at any time that you want, but you'll probably find that you won't want to, because again, as I said, each session is going to build upon the next, and that's how it's going to go. So you'll love it. You're not going to find this work and the background behind it really, I don't know, you know, but so again, it's my pleasure and joy to share this with you. Enjoy it. Utilize these techniques and procedures that I gave you. Record it. Send me a response. Let me know what happens. So At the end, go to the button, click on it, it'll take you to a page. To register, all that information will be there, and so sign up now and meet me. Meet me so we can do this together and share this incredible work that really can change people's lives. Take the journey with me. You won't be disappointed. You really won't. And I really look forward to it and sharing this knowledge with you and carrying it forth. So I appreciate your time and your interest, and I'll see you on the first tip.